Welcome back to Real Talk Fitness with AMPT. I'm your host, Ashley Cummins. I'm a coach, gym owner, and someone who has lived inside group training environments for years. I've coached beginners, athletes, mums returning to training, competitive lifters, and everyday people who just want to feel strong again. And if there's one thing that I've really seen over and over again, both in myself and people I coach, is that most people don't struggle because they're lazy. They struggle because they confuse intensity with consistency. And that brings me to what I want to talk about today. As a coach, I feel that a lot of people struggle to have the hard conversations with their clients in terms of, you're not getting the results that you desire because you're not being consistent, or you're constantly injuring yourself or burning yourself out because you're ego lifting. You're trying to seek validation from other people within a group fitness environment rather than focusing on you. Now, don't get me wrong, group fitness is amazing because you're only ever going to be as good as the people that you train around, right? Or compete against, to know where you stand if that's what you want to do. But most people struggle because they confuse intensity with consistency. So consistency, ego lifting, and the hard part of being a coach and being honest without upsetting your clients, because I never want to see people upset. But as a coach, I don't also want to just tell them what they want to hear, because sometimes that's not what's going to move them closer to the goal. And as I said, group training is really powerful. It builds community, accountability, and it builds energy. But it can also quietly feed comparison, ego, and short-term thinking. As a coach, I'm someone who cares deeply about long-term results. And I've learned that sometimes that the most loving thing that I can do is say the things that are going to make some people uncomfortable. So whether you train in a group environment or you're a coach listening to this podcast, this episode is going to hit some home truths. And yes, for those listening that, you might not be consistent, this might make you slightly uncomfortable. But when we're uncomfortable, that's when growth usually happens. So let's begin. Let's start with consistency. Consistency is not exciting. It's not glamorous. It doesn't get the Instagram hype. No one posts, I just did 4 sets at 80% with perfect form and left 2 reps in the tank because I showed up on the day that I didn't want to show up. That's the stuff that changes your body. It's not about being 100% all of the time. It's about being 80 to 85% all the time. So showing up when you're tired, lifting the programmed weight with good form and good intention. You might leave a rep in the tank. It's about logging your sessions, progressing slowly. It's quiet, it's disciplined, and it's mature. Always remember, if you're not where you want to be, always look at what your consistency's been. Has your consistency been on point? Because the person who trains at 75 to 85% consistently for 12 months will always outperform the person who redlines every session for 6 weeks and then burns out. Every time. It doesn't matter whether your goal is strength, fat loss, muscle gain, or performance. The person that is most consistent will always outperform the person that goes hard or does a little work and expects big results. Consistency rewards repetition, not random intensity. Your body adapts to repeated signals, not one heroic session that is a shock to your body. It rewards repeated controlled effort, and that's growth. If you can't repeat it, it's not strategy, it's just a moment. And the goal isn't always how hard can I go today. The goal is how well can I show up this week, next month. Because results compound. Like interest in a bank account. The first few deposits don't look like much, but keep depositing consistently. And one day you'll look back and go, wow, I didn't realize how far I've come. Consistency is boring, but boring wins. And I know sometimes it's hard to show up. I know that, things happen, you get tired. They're the sessions that compound over time. It's not about going balls to the wall every session. It's not about not having a slip-up meal. It's about choosing you and your goals 80% of the time. And that might mean choosing a different meal when you go out for dinner. That might mean being harder on yourself during the week. But consistency will always outperform the person that goes hard and burns out. Which then also leads me to ego lifting, which I feel like is the silent progress killer. It's super frustrating, and I understand when we train in a group fitness environment that it can be really inspiring to see what other people are lifting, or you want to lift the most weight on the barbell because it looks good. As a coach, I'm really big on relative strength rather than absolute strength. So absolute strength is the weight that we have on the barbell, and you might go, oh wow, 100 kilos is a lot of weight. I really value relative strength. So a person that's 50 kilos, if they're lifting 100 kilos, that is fucking amazing, because relative strength, they're lifting twice their body weight. So ego can get in the way sometimes when we're just trying to whack weight on the barbell rather than put it in perspective. And ego lifting looks like loading plates because someone else did, or refusing to scale, pushing through pain just to win the round, sacrificing your form to finish first, turning every single workout into a competition. But here's the thing, is that group fitness can be so good, or small group training can be so good and uplift you, but it shouldn't come to the detriment of your health or your body. And when we have big energies, they can create good adrenaline. And when adrenaline's present, it can feed your ego. But our nervous system in each individual doesn't care about ego. Your joints don't care about ego. Your long-term progress doesn't care. And sometimes when we can let this get in the way, it can increase your injury. It slows down your development. It messes with your recovery, and it destroys your consistency. And sometimes that's a deeper layer. It's stepping back and going, what is my goal? Where do I want to be in 5 years from now? Not where I want to be in this moment. I know scaling can feel like a weakness, but the real strength and maturity for you as an athlete and a participant is being able to say, today this weight isn't right for me. That's maturity. Or I know I've done this before, but my form is jeopardized, so I'm going to scale back. That's maturity. That's long-term thinking. And this brings me to the hard part, and the honesty as a coach is it's uncomfortable. And sometimes the most important thing that we can do as coaches is tell the truth. Not the comfortable truth, not the keep them happy truth, the real truth. And for some, that might sound like the weight isn't right for you today. Your form is breaking down. You're not recovering properly, or you're simply not being consistent. So in accordance to get to where you want to go, we're not going to get there unless you can be consistent. Your weekends are undoing your weekdays. And just let me say this clearly, is that if I don't tell you the truth, I'm choosing your comfort over your progress. And that to me isn't coaching. Coaching is a relationship, a two-way street. It's built on trust and honesty. It's easy to clap and cheer when someone goes heavy. It's harder to pull them back and say, hey, not today. I think that we should do X, Y, and Z considering what you spoke to me about your goals. It's easy to encourage somebody's intensity and say, go hard, or you're doing great. It's harder to say you're not doing the basics consistently. Let's pull it back. But I, as a coach, care about where you're going to be in 5 years. I care about your body long term. I care about your goals. And sometimes as a coach, that requires you to be honest and saying the hard truths. And yes, sometimes clients don't love hearing that in the moment, but long term, the maturity of the person, they respect it. Because deep down, people don't want to be lied to, they want to be led. They want to know someone is watching, guiding, protecting their progress. And honesty goes both ways. There is never any judgment when it comes to this. And I feel like this really went hand in hand with consistency when I thought about doing today's episode, because I thought a lot of people sometimes, show up really hard for 4 weeks and then get really disheartened when they don't get their results. And it's like, considering your goals, they don't happen in 4 weeks. Or they look up to a person that might be chipping away week in, week out, day out for years and admire their progress without actually putting in perspective is that person showed up consistently 3-4 days a week, each week for years. And not every session for them was great. And sometimes we often miss that. We often miss that. And so I said, then your ego starts getting in the way. Well, if they did it, I can do it. Not putting in perspective is that how long have they been doing it? How consistent? How many bad sessions did they have? But they showed up anyway. So remember, I feel like, this episode for me feels really disjointed, but I feel that sometimes this needs to be listened to. Like, I feel sometimes you need to hear that consistency, and that might only look like 3 days a week, but 3 days a week consistently over 5 years' time is going to bring you so much closer to who and what you want to become of yourself with the fitness industry. So same goes with your eating, is that, if you have one bad day each week, but you're good for 6 of them, week in, week out, for years to come, you'll have the desired body composition that you want. Rather than going hard and reverting back to bad habits, or, if you have had a coach or have a coach that you might feel that, has had a hard conversation and has upset you, they're not doing it to upset or hurt your feelings. They're doing it because they care. Coaching can be so difficult, and there's so many people out there that, have become fitness coaches. And being in the industry for 15 years is the hard conversations still are never easy. Although it's a lot easier to see the value in knowing that you're being honest with your clients, as long as they're being honest with you. Is that if they said that, I want to achieve this, and then they're not achieving it, but you look at their consistency and it's really not there, well, you're going to have that hard conversation, because by telling them what they want to hear is never going to bring them closer to who they really want to be, or you're never going to get to the bottom of how you can help them. So it's never about who lifts the most, or who finishes first, or who never rests. Because those people that you look at that, might not rest, might not be there in 5 years' time. It's about learning to show up consistently. It's about the long-term progress. It's about scaling smart. It's about really dialing in on your form. And that's how we build strong humans. And strong humans last. So whether you're a coach or a member listening to this podcast, is ask yourself, are you training for applause from others, or are you training for your own progress? Because the real flex here isn't the heaviest bar in the room. The real flex is being the person who still is training next year and the year after. They still improve. They still are disciplined. They're still consistent. So that's a wrap for today's episode. As I said, I feel like it was really disjointed, but I feel like it was really relevant. Consistency and ego, they're two things that I feel in your journey, there's something that we need to get clear on. So here's what I want to leave you with. Consistency beats intensity. Longevity beats ego. And honesty beats comfort. So to build strong coaching relationships, they're built on trust and honesty. And if you really are serious about your results, I'd love you to take away some things from today's episode. Is it train smart? And remember, real strength isn't just what's on the bar. It's who you are when you choose your progress over your pride, or you choose turning up over the emotion, the current situation. Because when you look back in 2, 3, 4 weeks, or even 4 months' time, that little reasoning in your head of why you didn't want to show up that day will be irrelevant. But you will be reaping the rewards of the consistency. So if you like today's episode, please share this with somebody that might need to hear that, might need to hear those hard truths, or even share this with someone that you know is a coach and might be struggling to have those hard conversations. Because by sharing this podcast, we're helping change people's lives one step at a time, and that really means a lot to me. So I'm going to leave you with that. So keep looking after yourself and keep it real, guys. Until next time.